Hello guys, welcome to another backtesting video. Today I'm backtesting the data of Tuesday 28th of November 2023. There was a beautiful setup with our bias that was presented to us on Tuesday of 28th November 2023. Now let me show you what was the trade, how did it look, and why I took it at the first place. So let me quickly show you the news. On Tuesday there was no London session news, and there was only the dollar news, CB consumer confidence. And on Tuesday there was no news as of on the my FX books calendar. So showing that there was no chance of news, you can argue that while selecting my daily bias, obviously my weekly bias is bullish. So now when the weekly bias is bullish, we go to the daily to see what the market is doing, if it's at its higher high phase or higher low phase, or it is at its consolidation or imbalance phase. Okay, you can argue that there was a fair value gap here on the daily time frame, but as I tell you in all of my videos, until and unless the price shows us that it wants to reject and go and fill up that fair value gap, until then we can't do nothing. So looking at the charts right now, it's clearly showing that it's bullish and it want to continue going to the upside. You might argue that on the daily time frame there was a supply zone here which was literally not respected at all, and also I can spot another supply zone here where the market is not yet. So right now the best decision for me, looking at the GU chart, at least it's going bullish. Whereas now to confirm my bias, I go to the DXY, and on DXY, looking at DXY, you might argue that there was a small fair value gap. There was no fair value gap on DXY, which confirms our bias that it might looking for sales on Tuesday will make more sense rather than buys. So this gives my bias literally so much of power. And now if I show you the H4, if I am bullish, so I will have to look for bullish market structure on 4-hourly time frame. Look for any patterns like head and shoulders or anything like that, because head and shoulders will work if you trade it with the trend. Like you can see here, it was a inverted left head right shoulder, continued to the upside, right? This was a low that caused this high. This demand was respected, and this low created another high right here, and the market was literally consolidating in this area. On the 4-hourly, there was no clear market structure. It was literally choppy at this point, right? So now at this point, what I do when the 4-hourly is not clean, I go to the hourly to look for zones and also look at market structure. So now if I look at the 1-hour chart, the market was making higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, higher highs. So the last market structure, bullish market structure, was made from this low till this high, you can argue. So this was a clear demand zone right here, but I didn't mark this demand zone because it was already mitigated by this zone right here. This liquidity was already swept from here, so I marked this demand zone right around here, and according to the Asian range, I will look for trades either from this zone, or I will go to lower time frames to look for other zones according to the Asian range. So now let me show you the DXY correlation with this. And on DXY, if I'm looking for sales, I want bearish market structure, which was clean. DXY was more cleaner in this case. As we can see, this high caused this low, this high caused another low right here, and this lower high caused this another low right around here. So now if I go to the hourly time frame, hourly chart, on the hourly chart, it's clearly making lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, higher highs. The market changed character right here, and again the market changed character right around here, giving us a supply zone right around here on the hourly. But always the hourly supply zones and demand zones aren't always respected, so we have to adapt to the market as good profitable traders. So what I did, I waited patiently for Asian range to close, because until and unless Asian range closes, we can't do shit, because that's when our strategy starts to play out, as you guys know. Now going on DXY, on the hourly, it literally made a lower highs, new lower low at this time. So I was looking for sweep of this liquidity, Asian high liquidity sweep, previous structural liquidity sweep, enter in this at this fair value gap on DXY to then enter, whereas the opposite on GU, I was looking for this demand zone mitigation. So now after this Asian range has closed, now I go to the lower time frames to refine and mark the most cleanest demand zones. So you can argue on the 30-minute time frame, this was, if I see the market structure, this was the low that caused this high, this was the low that caused another high right here, this was the higher low that caused this higher high, market structure shift right around here, change of character, this was the lower high that caused this new lower low, and this low here caused the market structure shift again, shifting the narrative from bearish to bullish in the markets. Also you can say market sentiment shift or market structure shift, and this was a change of character. So this was a strong demand zone, market structure shift, fair value gap, and this demand zone was with the bias being bullish. So now at this point, what I will do, I will look for trade from this sort of demand zone on GBP USD. So what I did, I didn't took the trade here because this was not our timing yet, and the Asian low got swept, previous structural liquidity got swept, everything we want to see in a trade until now, it's getting swept. So what I did was, after seeing this rejection right here on 115, right, now I go to DXY. Literally at this point at 115 DXY is not aligning with GU. As you can see, this M15 fair value gap got filled to the T. This demand supply zone didn't got respected, so you can argue the market, the next supply zone was right around here on the M15. So fair value gap got filled, and on GU also, while taking the trade, while taking the entry, if GU is aligning with DXY, it's better, right? So here I didn't took the trade right around here because it was not aligning, and at this candle, 130 candle, if I had taken a trade here, if look at DXY was also aligning after filling up this fair value gap. If I entered at exactly at 130 candle right around here, I would have taken an L. As you can see, this was a losing position right here, and this also I considered as inducement. There was nothing wrong with this trade. I would have taken a loss in this trade and the market would have continued with the bias and we would have been induced. Sometimes that will happen in the market. The markets are not perfect, and on DXY that was a clear winning position right there. I re-entered the position on GU again because I was so sure with my bias, and this was a losing trade first, and let's focus on the winning trade now. This was a winning trade. Boom, the bias was clear. This was a high probability trade. AMD accumulation, manipulation, distribution got followed here perfectly. High probability trade, everything we want to see in a trade was present here, and also the target in GU was so clear. And this previous day high, you can see, right, the previous day high on GU was not yet swept, whereas on GBP USD, sorry, DXY, the previous day low was already swept long time ago, and also the previous week low has been swept, which gives us more confirmation that GU might now go and take the previous day high with the bias being bullish, obviously. And this was a winning trade. We took our 1:3 and then break even the trade, and as we know, New York session, another set of traders come in again. These are the two sessions in the market. London session made the move, came again in the New York session, and then boom. Also the New York session came in, took the liquidity from London. This happens a lot of times. London session, it makes the move, New York comes in, takes liquidity from London, and then boom, continued with the bias. If you follow the bias, you will be profitable in the markets, and you have to create a mindset and think like a profitable trader. Everything starts from thinking and your thoughts. So if you can change that, you'll become a profitable trader. Nobody can stop you. So it was a very, very good move, and let's go on to Wednesday now.